everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sharper Edge podcast with Betty Parker. I am glad that you've decided to stop by today and take a listen to another episode that addresses people issues. You know, we are here trying to, I don't know, I'm trying to save the world, y'all. I'm trying to get people to see themselves. I'm trying to get people to see each other. I am trying to help people build relationships and to be more thoughtful about how we interact. So today is no different. I have a wonderful guest with me today, Mr. Jordan Thomas, who is here to share with us some very important work that he's doing with our youth. And I just want to invite him to the Sharp Edge today. Good morning, Jordan.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to hear you are doing some great work. And I'm impressed by it. I've not dug way deep in it, but just the little bits that I've seen and heard about, I think is phenomenal and very much needed in our society today, and specifically here in Columbia, South Carolina. So, first of all, lay the land out for us. Tell me about your program and what it does.
Yes, so and I say we, me, my twin brother Win, and best friend Michael Henschel started Share One Love as a nonprofit organization in 2013. And we had initial opportunities to work in different contexts with young people in other parts of the world, which really tore down some of the preconceived notions and barriers that we had. We were looking for, we learned a lot just about what young people are experiencing, and it took us out of our comfort zones. But specifically in 2017, we started working with young people housed inside of secure South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice facilities. We really feel, especially as we've gotten more into the space, that this population of young people are the most marginalized group of young people in our state. They need support. They need the community around them. And as a in a general thing, I believe in redemption. I believe that what we experience and where we are in life oftentimes has to do with things out of our control, especially as we're younger. And so for the young people and that we work with, uh, we use sport as our main avenue of connection. We believe that sport is a powerful tool that can help build connection, but it can also help with healing, not only on the communal level, but also on a biological level. We believe sport is a powerful tool for that. And we believe it's a great spot to help young people grow, learn about themselves, to find the things that help them move forward. So we run sports programs as consistently as we can inside of secure South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice facilities. And we've been doing that specifically since 2017.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I'm in total agreement with you that sport brings people together. I mean, because at the end of the day, the majority of sports involves teamwork, right? So you teach people how to connect with each other and to support each other and trust each other as you're, facing some friendly competition. How's it, since you've been doing this for quite a while, how's it going for you all? How do you like what's happening?
Yeah, we really found that at a baseline, sport is the place that's a unifier. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you believe in, where you're from, how much money your parents make. The field, the court, together as a team, we can work towards achieving a goal. And so we've seen at a baseline with the kids that we work with inside the facilities, we really feel that they need to be moving more so than maybe just an hour a day for recreation and things like that. So we've seen a lot of growth. I think some of the biggest things that we've experienced is we've been very fortunate to have a strong core of some college volunteers over the past couple of years, and that closer age gap for volunteers and the young people, it really seems to resonate deeply with the young people we work with. They're constantly asking when the college kids are coming back to spend time with them. Um, but on a baseline, and something we've learned from Dr. Bruce Perry and the Center for Healing and Justice Through Sport is that sport provides patterned, repetitive, rhythmic activity. And that patterned, repetitive, rhythmic activity is what actually allows our brain to find calm and feel safer. Um, as human beings, what's crazy is our brain is insanely complex, and there's so much that we still don't even know about the capacity of the human brain. But at a baseline, the brain wants to feel safe. It's identifying its surroundings around it, and when we feel safe, we have greater access to the most human part of our brain. And in that most human part of our brain, we're able to be creative. We're able to deepen our understanding on life, to contemplate past, present, future, those types of things. That's where language exists. That's where speech and those types of things. Now, I'm no neuroscientist, so please, definitely fact check me on those things. But that's stuff that we've learned. That's stuff that we've learned through our experience. And so, sport is uniquely gifted with helping us achieve regulation intentionally. But then also, it's a great platform to build stronger relationships and to build trust with young people. There's an opportunity for us to really lean into the makeup of our bodies, what our bodies need. And so, one of the things we've learned is that regulation is important first for any sort of connection and any sort of growth. And so, this baseline movement, this patterned, repetitive, rhythmic activity really helps open the door for further opportunities to build connections with young people. And what we deeply believe is that connection is biological and that healing is communal. We need others to come alongside us in this journey. So, for the young people that we work with in these secure facilities, we believe that we should, as the community, be a part of their healing journey by coming alongside them and then really helping them in developing relationships, strong relationships where trust can grow. And the easiest way to do that is to consistently show up. I think for this population of young people, for many people in the community, unless you've had someone in your family intersect with the system or you yourself have intersected with the system, it's out of sight, out of mind. We only really see the headlines on the news sometimes. But when you go in and you spend time with these young people, you realize like, hey, these are children, and they are coming from situations and circumstances that oftentimes aren't necessarily their fault. Now, that doesn't mean that the decisions that they've made are healthy decisions or decisions that haven't caused pain and destruction in the community. But as someone who personally believes in redemption, I'm not the same human that I was at 15. I'm not the same human that I was at 25. I'm constantly feel like I'm learning and I'm growing. And I feel like if we can come alongside the young people that often feel like they're on the outskirts of everything, they feel like they're forgotten, they feel like they're not heard, that there's not a voice for them. I believe those are some of the greatest agents of change in the world. If we can come alongside and help them find restorative journeys, be a part of a healing journey, that they'll turn around and they'll transform their own communities. They'll transform the world around them.
Oh wow, that's really an investment in the future. That just something as I don't want to say simple because what you're doing is huge, but when you think of something almost as basic as sports, right? To gather some kids, and then you're talking about I want to say kids who are in their formative years. These young people. What are the ages you all deal with?
So the main age group is around 15 to 16 years old, but you'll see, I mean, heartbreakingly, you'll see 13-year-olds in the system, even up to 18-year-olds in the system. So it's a wide range. And then even what we know now with human development, the brain is still actively developing into the 20s. We're seeing adolescents reach even further into that next decade of living. And so really we have to help rewire in some way. Not that they're wrong or what they've experienced has made them defective. It's just if we love how we are loved. And so if we've never experienced love in a healthy way, if we've never experienced adult to youth relationships in a healthy way, if we've never experienced trust in a healthy way, we're only going to be able to perpetuate what we know. And so we really want to be intentional with that. And to your point, it's a simple game. Like yes, there's depth to it and there's things that we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, we can take a tool like sport, we can take sport and make it a tool that actually helps propel things in a healthy way, not only on a biological level with regulation, and I haven't even mentioned the proper dose of stress, but really being intentional with creating a community around it and using sport as that avenue to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's bigger than the sport. It's all. It sounds like you all get involved with them in a lot of ways. Sports is a catalyst for that, but it can launch you and them into bigger discussions around life and choices, and all those things that they may not have gotten in the environments they were in before, and how they can turn some of that around where they are and make better decisions ultimately hopefully they'll be getting out of there at some point, and can go on and be more productive citizens.
Absolutely. And so for us, sport is the platform of engagement. We believe that relationship is the key. I don't believe that human beings are meant to exist alone. I believe that we're meant to exist as part of our design to be in community with other people. And so if we struggle with the connection to the broader community around us, how can we give small doses of engagement that we can maybe start to foster healthier communities around it? And sport is just, I think music and art, universal languages, things that supersede the barriers that we use to define us and divide us, like language, religion, socioeconomic status, education, all these types of things on the field, on the court, those things are irrelevant in the course of the game, in the course of what we're trying to move forward. And so there, if in that brief moment it's like that, then what could that look like to move even further? But you're right, it's allowed us to get into deeper forms of conversation, to show these young people that we don't see them for what they've done or what their past has brought them, has made them, forced them to experience. But we use the field, we use the court as a place to say, I see you, you matter, you belong, and we want to help support you in this season of your life, in this time that you're here, to help you find what it is that matters to you, that you see life bigger than yourself. Because the one thing that's incredible about this journey as a human is that, yes, we live life linearly in this one life. I'm living my life, you're living your life. But if we take a step back, we see this connected web of the collective story of humanity, of our existence with other people. And then so it's really just because in fact, I was had a session yesterday at MEDC, one of the DJJ facilities here in Columbia, and we were talking about identity. And I, if we view ourselves, if we don't view ourselves as we matter, if we don't view ourselves as a bigger part to this, or a part to this bigger and larger story, then we treat others in that way as well. And so it dictates how we kind of intersect. I constantly say, show me what you do, and I'll show you what you believe. If how we actually act out our lives proves how we view ourselves and how we view others. And so if we can rally around these young people and say, you do matter, the you're not defined by your actions, especially as a young person. And that doesn't mean that, again, that doesn't discount what's been done, that doesn't discount the impact or the pain to themselves, their families, their communities. But it's there's an opportunity to move beyond these things, to learn more. If we don't know, we do the best we can with what we have in front of us. And for a lot of young people that we work with, some of the things that they end up perpetuating are things that they've seen, and that's just normal life. They don't consider different existences beyond what's in front of them. And so we want to just be intentional with that. We want to be intentional with using, again, a simple game to be that avenue to build the bridge, to lean into our biology and what our brain actually needs to connect, to learn, to grow. Because here's the thing, the moment the brain begins to feel unsafe, we're no longer thinking critically. We're thinking in our emotional part of our brain. And if it's a real big threat, it's just survival. It's just making sure that our heart is beating and our lungs are breathing and doing the things that we need to do. But the human condition is such a complexity that we getting back to that top part of our brain, to be able to think critically, to be able to reflect, to be able to determine what it is that matters to us, what our values are, and to be able to communicate that and connect deeper with others around us. We have to get to that top part of our brain, which doesn't exist if we don't feel safe. And I don't know if you've ever been inside of a secure facility, but even as someone who never personally intersected with that system, I get stressed out walking into some of these places. It's not the most safe building type of environment, with the barbed wires on the fence, the secure doors, the power differential between uh, the staff and the young people themselves, and all of that plays into what our brain is kind of trying to make sense of what's going on around us, which is why sport has been such an incredible avenue for us to slowly but surely build a safe space as best we can for these young people in a space that isn't necessarily conducive to safety.
Yeah, I've been over at DJJ with the girls. And sat on a panel and talked to them. And you're right, it's all about helping them to see the value in themselves and the value in others. Everybody's not your enemy, you know? And so even though the world seems like it's thrown you away or forgotten you, even though the home life might not be its best, even though you're carrying the weight of whatever you've done on your shoulders, there is a way out. That's the kind of message we're trying to help them to understand. So I love the fact that you got these different avenues for these young people to just kind of be out there and express themselves and to connect better with each other. You say the field or the court, so I'm assuming you are doing what, football, soccer, basketball, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say when we have opportunities, some facilities don't have a ton of space, so we have to be kind of creative with some of that. I would say even dodgeball is one of the ones that we kind of have some fun with, so we kind of can, you know, mess around a little bit with that. But yeah, basketball, we've done football type programmings. We've done honestly simple relay races and certain things like that. Any sort of movement. Based activities, and for some of these facilities you have to get a little creative again with just what space is available to you. But the team based sports is really where we can get into some of the deeper work that we're trying to do. It allows different type of avenues for things, and then to bring up that point of stress. So the interesting part about stress in this life is the opposite of stress isn't no stress. We have to deal with stress constantly in our lives, but we need to help build resilience to the stresses that come our way, because so much of this existence is out of our control. I even tell myself I'm only in control of my attitude, my response, and my effort. Those things I know I can control, I can focus on in that, but there's so many things that are outside of my control. And so being able to be resilient towards stress is a big task in this world, to be able to operate in a healthy and a way that contributes to the collective story. So the proper dose of stress is controlled, moderate, and predictable doses of stress. And if we can use sport intentionally to say, hey, all right, we just did this drill where you were dribbling with your dominant hand and you were able to do this. Now for this next drill, I'm forcing you you have a choice, because choice is a big opportunity when it comes to safety. But if you're willing to try this dose of stress, you're going to dribble with your non-dominant hand, and you're going to try to do this same drill at the same capacity as best you can with this, and it's giving this little dose of stress where we regulate first and we're intentional with that pattern repetitive rhythmic activity, but then we say, hey, here it doesn't matter if you fail. I constantly say progress over perfection. I'm not trying to get you. I'm not. Perfection is a myth in my mind as far as the human's capacity. Like I tell them I'm about to turn 35 years old and I'm still constantly messing up. I'm constantly failing. So perfection in my mind is a myth for me to attain. But progress. How do I move forward a little bit? How do I challenge myself a little bit more? And then we let them know that the failure doesn't define you, because it doesn't. Like, again, on the field, on the court, if you lose, if you fail, if you don't find that success, that doesn't ultimately matter. That's not going to add years onto your life. That's not going to necessarily take years off of your life and those types of things. And so we're just trying to, because I think the beauty of all of this is, like, if you think of the concept of success, failure is a critical aspect of success. And if you're willing as a human to accept that failure is part of this journey, then we get up off the mat. We don't stay down. We don't stay in that pit where we wallow in whatever didn't go the way that it was. It's like, what did I learn? How can I grow? How can I get improve things or whatever in those types of ways? And I think sport is a great way. A lot of these young people, to some degree, struggled to engage in the educational setting. They struggled um, to think through things cognitively that were challenging or made them feel a certain type of way or experience it. Sport is an incredible space to kind of dose that, to say, hey, it's all right. And like I'll do the drill with them. Our volunteers will do the drill with them. And some of us aren't necessarily that athletic. So we fail off the jump and we show them that it's okay. It's all good. We're going to get back in line. We're going to jump back in this space. We're going to try to be a part of this.
The exercise that goes with that, I think, just the release of endorphins and all of that, that also makes a person feel good. Yeah, you all are dealing with the mind, but the body is also benefiting from that too. So that mind body connection, I'm sure at the end of whatever exercises you do, whatever visits y'all make, helps them to feel some sense of, I don't know, energy or encouragement when all is said and done, because you challenge them in a lot of ways. And I hope that some of the things that you're saying, those things are resonating with them. Do you have any way of evaluating the success of your program?
So it gets a little bit challenging because they're technically young people, they're technically wards of the state, so even certain aspects of data is tough to get, and certain things. I think if I were to say in an ideal world, we'd be able to maybe monitor some of their physiological things like their resting heart rate and kind of see if that over time kind of levels down, and things like that. Most of it is anecdotal. We check
Yeah,
in. We constantly
even
are just
asking
trying to
them.
determine,
Yeah,
yeah, how things are, and then we hear, in the gaps in our visit. So if we come one day and come back a couple days later, we check in. How have things been this week? Have One of the things that's DJJ is constantly dealing with is idle time, and I would even say youth on youth violence in the facilities. That's something that they constantly are having to kind of navigate. And one of the things that we constantly preach to the institution itself is like, hey, if we move these kids more and we let them move their bodies, get even physically tired to some degree, those things will start to diminish. So I think even tracking the success, I've got to probably be better in what that is. But a couple of months ago, I ran into a young person that I actually worked with in the facility. I met him in the facility, and he was at a job that he was working or whatever. And he ran up to me and he gave me a hug, and he just started to tell me about all the things that he was starting to do in to make sure that he didn't find himself back in that setting. And so even small little stories like that, knowing that uh, even if it's just one young person that we can impact and change, and it's like, hey, that could change the world. We're idealists in that regard. We believe that sport can change the world, because it can change an individual's journey, and that individual can then, we never know the ripple effect of the impacts that we make. Our job is to just go in there, connect as we can, spend as much time as we can, and plant whatever seeds we can plant.
that's the deal. That's the deal. Yeah, I was just curious as to, when you all are talking to them, and if there's somebody who comes, one of the young people who comes regularly to any event that you have, if you start hearing things from them, or you see a change in behavior, or hearing stories about a way they may have handled a situation that they probably would have handled it differently and in the wrong way had they not sat and talked with you all, I'd be interested in and the impact that it's having on them, because I'm sure y'all are making, even if it's just incremental, just baby steps, so, certainly something that's being said or done in these interactions with these young people should be making a difference.
Well, and we definitely think that because the young people are constantly requesting more of our engagement, we feel like that is already a baseline of they're getting something out of this. They're feeling something different. They're experiencing something different. And so we're very humbled that the young people desire to see more of of our engagement in that type of space. But I also think we're teaching them about what their brain is doing, and that kind of gives them a little bit more context and to experience. And so they probably ad nauseum heard me say pattern repetitive rhythmic activity, and that this allows your brain to find calm. And so just trying to give them more tools in their tool belt to navigate the emotions that they experience, to navigate whatever it is that's in front of them, especially while they're in those settings and in those facilities.
What I hear you saying, Jordan, is you're empowering them in a lot of ways. Because, like you said, there's so many things we do not control, but you can control the way you face situations. So, if you're telling them, listen, the power is in your hands to react like this in a particular challenging situation versus that, which might be negative. If they have that kind of control, then it's totally up to them what the outcome is going to be, right? So it's like, okay, you have two
Absolutely.
choices in front of you. And so you get to make that choice, nobody else in the room. So you are empowered to be able to, make the right choices. And I think when young people feel like they have some agency, then they might feel like I'm not just being controlled by other people. I have a little space here to do the right thing. So I'm going to choose to do the right thing, because what's the carrot at the end?
Right.
What's the benefit of me yeah, doing the right thing? If you get them thinking like that, and they are at impressionable ages. So you have, despite the mistakes they've made in the past, you're right. You can help them change the trajectory of their lives. And I think if they know that a little bit better, somebody's telling it to them, right? As long as they keep beating it in their heads over and over again, they might be sick of hearing it, but if you're conditioning them to believe the positive things about
Well,
themselves.
that's right. My dad always told me that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if they're tired of hearing it, hopefully that just means it's sinking in even deeper, and they're like, yeah, yeah, Coach JT, we know pattern repetitive rhythmic activity. We know that we have this type of thing or whatever. And I think one of the things that we try to be different about is that we try to be intentional with coming alongside where they are. We understand that healing isn't one size fits all. I believe deeply that what we've experienced in this life up to the point where we are really has an impact on how we see things, how we view ourselves, all these types of things. And so, if we can, as best we can, put the power in their hands and let them see that power in their own hands in their own journey, that allows them to take ownership of whatever it is that's in front of them.
Um, Now you're gonna, just switching gears slightly, because I know this is gonna be part of a discussion or a presentation you're gonna make coming up. What is it? The Congaree TED Talks. I never
Oh,
get my.
yeah, TEDx Congaree Vista.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. I heard you're gonna be a presenter there.
Yes, well, first off, I'm very humbled. After spending as much time with some of these other speakers, I'm like, I don't know why they gave me this opportunity to speak. But I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to just share a little bit what I believe is the sport remedy. I think tying into all these things that I've talked about at least to some degree before in our talk today. I believe that sport is an incredible entryway into the deeper healing that we honestly need to do as a collective. We need to heal individually. We need to address the things that are in our own stories. But we need to have a society that really works together, and we need to have a space that bridges the gap. And if the younger generation were to look out right now at the world around them and at how the adults are acting, I don't necessarily blame them for some of the things that they're experiencing, because why would they be more emotionally regulated? Why would they be willing to bridge the gap or build a bridge with someone that believes or experiences different things than them, if when you look out at the world, or you read the headlines, and it's just like division, destruction, brokenness. And so the opportunity to speak on this stage is first off, it's a bucket list item for me. I think I've been watching at least the larger company TED Talks for over a decade now, and I've always told myself it'd be so cool to get on a stage. And so this is a bucket list thing for me. But I'm really going to focus again, taking a simple game, being intentional with the play, being intentional with the space that we create for young people, using it as a space to build trust and relationships. But then also we can use sport as an avenue for biological healing. We can use it to help them achieve regulation with pattern repetitive rhythmic activity, and we can also use it, because we've created a safe space, as a spot for the proper dose of stress, that controlled, moderate, and predictable doses of stress. And that's stuff that we learned from the Center for Healing and Justice Through Sport with their neurosequential model and their work with Dr. Bruce Perry. I think the more that we lean into our design, the more that we lean into what our brain needs individually and collectively, we can truly help build healing and pathways towards healing in other areas of life. Again, on the field, on the court, the divisions and the things that we define ourselves by as individual humans, they fade away. The reason Share One Love was started was my twin brother Win and my best friend Michael Henschel were in Nicaragua back in 2008. They didn't speak very much Spanish at all, but they dropped a ball on the street and all of a sudden a game of soccer started to be played. Young people came out of the shadows, goals were formed, and it didn't matter that they didn't speak the same language, we could connect. And so if it doesn't matter about all these layers that humans kind of muddy up the water, I think we're way more connected and alike than we make it out to be. And if a simple game can be that entry point, now we start to see the humanity in another. We start to see that it doesn't matter that we don't speak the same language. We start to see that it doesn't matter that we don't believe the same things, whether politically, socially, from a faith-based perspective. If we're one, then what does that look like one more step further? How do we get into the deeper spots of conversation? And so I think sport is an incredible avenue to be that entryway into building the bridges that we honestly, as where we are with humanity as a society, we have to get back to the bridge building business.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think we're hardwired to be connected with each other. We are made that
Right.
way. You know, we are created to need another person. I always use as an example when I'm doing my training in leadership, when we're talking about teamwork, that oftentimes, you know, it's interesting. You should talk about in these secure centers or facilities, these detention centers. When we know that if somebody is imprisoned, I'll say that, and they cause some type of infraction while they're there, there's another punishment that comes as a result of that. And I always ask the class, what is it? And they'll say isolation. And so,
Mm.
yeah, isolation is a punishment. So when you think about it in the grand scheme of life, when people are ostracized or marginalized, disenfranchised, and cast aside, yeah, that's like being in prison because we need that connectivity between one another. And we feel valued, we feel seen, we feel heard. And so when we can conjoin with other people and make great things happen, it does something for us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things, right? The thing that makes those things that make us whole. So I applaud what you all are doing, and this is a fantastic work. I'm gonna put in a little plug for something I just did too, and I've got my fingers crossed, and I hope you'll stay in prayer with me about this. So our church, I just wrote a grant for them to build a basketball court because we have some property behind the church, and I want to put a basketball court, but it's for the community. Not you don't have to be a member of our
Mm.
church or anything like that, but it's in the northeast corridor of of South Carolina, of Columbia, I should say, and mostly because we have seen an uptick in youth and teen violence in this area. You know, and nobody likes it, right? No, you know, the community is
Right.
like, we've got to stop this. And so the most basic way I could think of, and when I saw there was money available to assist us in being able to, because I wanted us to do it anyway as a church, but then I found out there were grant dollars by the county out there. So I'm like, great, we can get this basketball court built. And so I started doing all this research and looking at some of the things you just discussed, how sports can diminish and even eradicate some of the hostilities that exist. It gives kids an outlet. It gives them something more, meaningful to do. It builds
Right.
teams, and there are studies that prove out that when kids have something, you know, even a sport like basketball, an intramural kind of event, I don't know, it builds that community for them. So I'm praying we get approved for that and we can put that court out there. I'm ready to do it because I just think it's going to make a difference in the community. All right. So, is there anything else you want to say before we end today? This has been a fantastic conversation, but anything you want to wrap us up with?
Yes, I think that it is our job. First off, thank you for the opportunity to even connect and share. I hope it was even some way coherent or meaningful to someone that comes across it. But I believe it's our job as humans to really take a look at how whatever it is that's in front of us. It doesn't have to be sport. It can be other things that interest you. We have to be bridge builders, especially for the young people around us, because if the young people do not see different, they're not going to do different. We have to inspire them to lead moving forward in a different type of direction. If we don't like what we're seeing in the world around us, in order to see different, you have to do different. They say doing the same things over and over and expecting different results is insanity, right? So we my encouragement to anyone that comes across this is like take a look at the things that you're doing. And it doesn't mean that you can go and start a nonprofit, or like you might not have the time or the capacity, but there's always something that we can do to invest in and inspire the next generation, because they will be our leaders. They will be the people moving things forward. They'll be the next doctors, lawyers, teachers, all these different types of things. And we need to come alongside them. We don't need to say, this is how you do it. We need to come alongside them and say, how can we help you carve out the journey that you desire to carve, and really be people that are desiring to make an impact. I think of life as a large body of water, and our story is this little pebble. And if you have ever thrown a rock into a still body of water, you see that it starts off as a small ripple, but it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We have no idea what are even our small instances of presence, our small connections. We have no idea what that stuff does, especially for young people. We have to be people that embody belonging and connection. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity. I'm excited to, speak this weekend. I'm a little nervous, but at the same time, if you're not nervous, are you really even trying to get outside your comfort zone? So I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation with you today.
So thank you also for being here and being a part of today's discussion. I think you have created another um, another area of thought for some people who might not have even considered the area you're working in. And I'm going to grab all of your information. We're going to put it in the chat. So if anybody wants to support your nonprofit,
Mm.
for all the great things you're doing, we'll give them a chance to do that too. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in and for listening to this episode of the Sharper Edge podcast. Come back next week. I have another exciting guest, and we appreciate all you do to support us. Thanks, and have a great week.